It's gonna suck. This doesn't suck though. WatchChadDukes.com is how you check out what's going on right now. Joined by Ricardo Lamas and Chad Mendes. They're squaring off at the Patriot Center April 4th. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com this Friday. Follow them on Twitter at Ricardo Lamas MMA, at Chad Mendes. You guys touched on it a little bit before, but you know I have to ask you about this. CM Punk is joining the UFC. I dig pro wrestling, so I said, wow, this is cool. It immediately caused a huge buzz. And being a fan of both sports, I like that sort of thing. Like when Lesnar came in, people want to compare this to Lesnar. You can't.
No way.
Lesnar's one of the most freakish people I've ever seen in my life. And you need to hammer that home, right? That you can't say, well, Lesnar, you know, beat a bunch of guys, beat Randy Couture, had the heavyweight title, beat Shane Carwin. That has nothing to do with what CM Punk
Lesnar also had a huge real wrestling background. You know, he was a D1 national champ. So the dude was a bad man coming in already.
When he stood and banged with Velasquez, why? He's such a great wrestler. Why would he do that? There was this rumor going around like he wanted to get out, like he didn't want to get hit anymore, and so he's just going to go out there and finish his career that way.
Well, Velasquez is a badass wrestler too.
He is, but if you're Brock, like, what do you think? What should the plan be?
I think Brock just kind of got broken mentally. You know, Velasquez was taking him down and staying in his face and not backing down the whole time, and I think Brock just didn't like that. You know, he's probably not used to guys backing him up.
That's true.
I heard Brock, he just doesn't like getting hit. Even in like sparring in his camp, guys weren't allowed to hit him in the head. It was all body stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Carwin's got those toasters for fists and was tuning him up pretty good in that fight. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Do you get annoyed when people say, look at this, look, CM Punk can do it too? Because we're talking about two completely different backgrounds.
Well, we don't know if CM Punk can do it yet. You know, we'll see after his first fight.
But we know that he doesn't have that wrestling background that Lesnar has. But when you look at it, this is the argument that I don't get. People keep saying he's taking somebody's spot. And I understand, like, if you want to look at the money, you want to look at the exposure and the time. If I'm training and I'm doing what you guys are doing, that would frustrate me. But there's so many fights. There's so many opportunities. Do you really believe that he is taking somebody's spot that's more worthy?
I think that if you want this whole thing bad enough, you're going to find a way to get it done. You know, I jumped on a 4-day notice fight to get into Zuffa and the WEC. So if guys have the balls to do something like that, you can, you know, there are injuries all the time. You just got to keep your ears open and have your managers looking out for you. Yeah,
and I mean, like I said, I'm going to go back to this again, but it is the entertainment part of it. And, you know, he's an entertainer. He was really good in the pro wrestling. You know, he's got a huge following. Like you said, when the word got out that he was going to be fighting, it created a huge buzz. Yeah. You know, and that's what brings the money. That's what makes people buy the pay-per-views. That's what makes, you know, people spend the money to come out to the Patriot Center. And see. Yeah. And so, you know, and that's, the UFC is not dumb, you know. They're doing this for a reason, and that's the main one.
My deal is that I struggle because I am a fan of what you guys do, and I don't have there's a lot of hardcore fans that are like, well, you weren't there from the beginning, you don't know. It's like, I want football fans to come watch the UFC. I want baseball fans to come, wrestling fans, whoever it is, because I like the sport and I think it's entertaining. I'm like, if you give this a shot, you will become a fan of this sport, but the people need to get the shot. So that's why I've never had a problem with it, because I feel that's who they're bringing the casual sports fan.
You're bringing new people in, you know, people that normally wouldn't watch it or just, you know, haven't really gotten into it. But yeah, I think they're going to come watch and they're going to fall in love, because, I mean, this is unlike any other sport out there. I mean, it's not like boxing where it's two guys just standing there throwing punches. There's so many different aspects to the sport, you know, and you get a guy that has been a solid wrestler his whole life that learns how to throw blows, and, you know, and then you get an opponent that's, you know, a great grappler that knows how to throw blows, and, you know, it makes for an incredible fight. So,
yeah, and also the fight cards too. Like in boxing, there's one main fight that everybody wants to watch. You know what I mean? They're all concentrated on that one fight. You watch a fight, UFC fight on TV, the whole lineup could be awesome fights, you know, from the first fight to the last fight. So there are just so many good fighters in this sport that put on good performances in their fights, and you get your money's worth when you buy these pay-per-views.
How do you guys, you're headlining a fight, right? Two of the best in the world. When you see the numbers being thrown around, and I'm sure you're humble enough not to compare yourself to other people, but let's say you're not. Let's say you're like me and it consumes you. You see the numbers being thrown around for Pacquiao, Mayweather, and the types of monies that they're throwing at these guys, and you say, you know, we see what our checks are, and they are what they are, and I'm sure in time they'll be better. How do you come to grips with that? I know that's a discussion that comes up a lot inside your sport.
It hurts, man.
I bet.
It hurts. But, I mean, I have to always go back to, you know, the UFC is such a new sport that still evolving and still growing, that, we just haven't gotten to that money, the payout yet. I think we're obviously growing and getting a lot bigger, and eventually it's going to be there. I think fighters are going to be making millions, millions a fight, but, we're just not quite there yet.
It'd definitely be awesome. I think that most of the people in the sport, we didn't really get into it thinking about that we were going to be millionaires. We got into this wanting to be the best in the world at what we do. And even though we don't make the type of money that these boxers are making, we're still very fortunate to be able to be living our dreams right now. I've wanted to do this since I was a little kid. So, it's priceless, really, being able to do this day in and day out.
Ricardo, what's Conor McGregor's beef with you? Why does he talk so much smack?
Conrad. It's Conrad McGregor.
Conrad, I don't know. Before he didn't even care about me. He says, Ricardo, oh, who cares? Nobody cares about Ricardo Lamas. And
it's pretty good.
And then a video came out of this other up-and-coming Irish fighter, Conrad McGillicuddy, and he didn't like it too much because I think there's a lot of similarities between the two fighters.
Sure.
And so, yeah,
a lot of people thought that was the straw that stirred the Kool-Aid and all that.
I guess so, because now he thinks I should be cut, I guess. The UFC should cut me.
Who would you rather fight, Jose Aldo or Conor McGregor? Conrad McGregor.
I really don't care, man. I want to fight both of them. Obviously, I have a loss to Aldo, so I'd love to avenge that loss. And, just punching Conrad in the face would be very fulfilling for me, and I'd love it.
Chad, I imagine you would like to, especially after your last performance, you would like to get back in there with Jose Aldo. Would you prefer that be for the title, or would you prefer to beat someone like Conor McGregor for the title and then face Jose Aldo? What's your preference?
Yeah, ultimately I would love to get back in there and get a W against Aldo, and it would be that much better if it was for the title. But God, it's going to feel so good to beat the crap out of Conor. I'm just chomping.
Conrad.
Yeah, Conrad. Sorry.
I don't know who Conor is.
Yeah.
Why? Why is it going to feel so good?
Because the guy's just a big tool. I mean, the guy, I'm trying to be nice here. I could definitely say a lot meaner things, I think. But, it's just a guy that, thinks he's God's gift to the earth. And, he's made a bunch of comments in the media. And, I understand it's hyping stuff up. But he's talking about guys that aren't even in the same weight class and just bringing stuff up that shouldn't even be brought up to sell a fight that isn't even going to happen, And, it's one thing when you're trying to push a fight, but he just likes talking crap.
Yeah, there's a difference between being an entertainer and then walking around talking about how you want to put your genitals on other fighters' heads. And, I'm not one to knock anybody's fantasies. We live in a world where there are a lot of freaks, but, what you do in the privacy of your own bedroom is your business. But you don't have to go blurt it out in an interview. Ain't nobody got time for that right now.
We're all open-minded. I think we're not going to fault anybody with what their proclivities are. Let's start with you, Chad. What are your strengths in this fight? Why do you think you're going to win?
There's a lot of things that are similar between me and Ricardo. I think a couple of things that I have, the wrestling pedigree is a little bit higher, but a lot of the times in mixed martial arts, wrestling is it's one thing to be a high level wrestler on the mat, but when you get into the octagon, sometimes it just doesn't transfer well. I think we're both great stand-up fighters. I feel like my stand-up has gotten a lot better over the last couple of years. We saw him rock a very tough opponent and finish him with a submission in his last fight. So, I honestly think that, this is just going to be a great fight. I've said it in a past interview that, you see two wrestlers that get in the octagon, and there's been multiple occasions where, guys that have that wrestling background, it ends up becoming a slugfest, and there really isn't any takedown or wrestling at all involved. So I could definitely see this fight going that way, but I don't know. What do you think, Ricardo?
I think, like Chad said, we are both very similar in our fighting styles. I think my wrestling is great, by the way, Chad.
I didn't say it was bad.
Just kidding. This is where all the crap talking is going to start right now.
Yeah.
Chad smells like poop, and he's a cackaface. And,
see, the problem is now my producer can isolate that and play that when you guys leave about me. See, that's the problem is what you're saying there.
No, I think it's going to be a great fight. And like he said, you put two wrestlers in there, the wrestling cancels each other out, or if it doesn't, you're going to see crazy scrambles, and the people that understand that style of fighting are going to love it. So I think it's going to be an action-packed fight, and just because we're not trash talking each other our fight is going to speak for itself. So, you know, you don't want to miss it.
No, stoked for the fight. I'm so happy that it's going to happen here. And again, first time the UFC has been at the Patriot Center. You should definitely be there. If you don't know anything about the UFC, it's worth to go see it live and in person. Tickets are on sale this Friday, Ticketmaster.com, 10 a.m. These two gentlemen will main event. Follow them on Twitter at Chad Mendes, at Ricardo Lamas, MMA. And boys, thank you so much for coming live in the studio. Really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us. Yeah,
thanks for
Absolutely.
having us.
We'll be right back. Chad Dukes versus the world.